Welcome back to Phil's Corner and welcome to The Hot Wall, our weekly show, where we rank the very best and very worst shirts of the year. But hello everybody, hope you're well. And Andres just says, new Hot Wall, let's go. Exactly, Andres, that's what we're doing. And Brock as well says, greetings, I'm excited to get your thoughts on the MLS shirt today. Good stuff. I mean, Brock, on the subject of American shirts, as people filter in, I've got a shirt to show off to you guys, which I may be doing a giveaway for. I'm sure many of you can guess. If you've seen some of my tweets over the last couple of weeks, there's a particular shirt, which again I'll show off, which I've got a lot of love for. It's not an MLS shirt, but it is a shirt from the States. Again, I'm sure you guys can guess, but welcome everybody. Just as we get into this again, I'll just make sure I'm set up. Got my second screen, i.e. my phone, and we're good to go. Before I show off this shirt, I mean, as I say, I've got it next to me. I've been sorting through my collection, as you can see. Yeah, I'm very excited to show that. Before I get to that, a couple of brief announcements. I just want to say again, thank you for the support on the magazine. It's been incredible. We sold out the first batch, so there's going to be another batch in stock. Hopefully next week, I'll let you guys know. It'll be the same price and everything, and you'll be able to get it from Football Shirt Collective. Or, of course, if you support me on Patreon, details are in the description. That's another way to get the magazine. Yeah, and before I, again, final bit of housekeeping as we do, make sure you subscribe. We're close to 3,000 subscribers. And yeah, be nice to hit that milestone. But as I say, I promised I would show off the shirt that I've just received from a particular club. And I will do that now. Let me just double check. Just want to make sure. Yeah. I'm sure many of you could guess. It is all the way from San Diego. This wonderful shirt from San Diego Loyal. Look at this, guys. This is hot off the press. I saw this shirt, when it was released a couple of weeks ago, and I knew I wanted to get hold of it. The club have generously sent over a couple of these, so I'm going to be giving one of these away tomorrow on Twitter. Look at it. Look at the colours. Look at the pattern. The details as well. The crest is particularly good. I don't know how well it will show up on my little camera, but it's a great shirt. So that is, as I say, it's got a nice back sponsor as well. Beautiful shirt. And hi Andy as well. Hello mate, hello. Yeah, so that, as I say, look out for my Twitter. Tomorrow I'll be giving one of those away. Thank you to the club for sending that over. Great to see a Charlie shirt. And I will say, guys, when we come to this one on the Hot Wall list, that will certainly be a contender for the top tier, for the Volcano tier. We will see when we get there. And also, just catching up on the comments box. It's a nice pocket shirt. Yeah, thank you. This is the retro shirt they did. Was it last year? Which I really liked. I really like the fuzzy sleeves in this one, which go all the way down to the cuffs. That's very cool. And then just we entertain a Revolution home kit for magazine swap. I mean, let's talk. DM me or contact me. Was it Facebook? If you haven't already, and we can sort that out. But let's get to ranking some shirts. Firstly, I'll just bring up the Hot Wall on Photoshop now. But just to recap where we've been so far, of course, we've been doing this for a few weeks now. We're still catching up on the latest kits. So in many ways, we're going to be, I think, well, I'm hoping over the next few episodes we'll catch up a bit more. So I'm going to be maybe streaming a bit, maybe till 5:30, a little bit longer than usual, in order to catch up. Because of course, as soon as the main kind of European release season hits, we're going to be really struggling. And Thomas says, good day to you as well, mate. Good to see you. Always good to see the regulars here at Phil's Corner. Yeah, so I think I'm just catching up now. If I let me switch our screen over. That's not what you want. Yep, there we go. You don't want to see the behind the scenes workings. We want to see the hot wall itself. This is a giant wall, and we've barely scratched the surface. I mean, you know, we're what, two and a bit months into the year, and already it's filling up. But you can see a lot of different stuff, and part of what I love about this show is discovering all these new shirts. But if we scroll to the right as well, you'll see the elusive Volcano tier shirts, and so far only 2 clubs have got into there. These are the hottest shirts, so the Volcano tier for the hottest shirts, and then down to the Ice Cube tier. And we've got a candle and the flames as well. And Thomas saying, what's the new Volcano? The new Volcano, Platense, is it? I think Argentinian. It's a great Hummel shirt. Really, really nice story with the pattern, and you can see their away as well got into the flames tier. Yeah, I think, was it last week? I think it was that we ranked that one, Thomas. Also, they need to the elite Liverpool third kit is unreal. I mean, in that case, let's go to footy headlines. Let's go to our guys' footy headlines. I want to see this kit. Where did you see the leak? I don't think I've seen the third kit leak. I can see the home. Obviously, we could talk about that another time. Yeah, Thomas, let me know whether it was on footy headlines or whatever it was. Let me know. So guys, first thing, let's catch up with where we got to. I think I'm right in saying we got up to AIK. Yeah, so we've got, we're going to start with Club America. Nice place to start. AIK shirt, incidentally, came into the Flames tier. So that was a really strong one. And, you know, it wasn't my favourite of their releases, but I really liked that overall aesthetic. Now let's come to another Nike shirt. We'll kick off with Club America. Club America have a real, I mean, their recent history of third shirts, or just the shirts in general, has been excellent. And you know, of course, over their history, they've had great shirts. So they're a great team when it comes to shirts. Our Thomas says on Free Headlines Instagram. Yeah, let me just check again. So, I don't usually use Free Headlines. I can't remember. Here we go. I think I've seen this one, which has been discounted as a fake. But if it's this one, I've seen some people saying it's not real. But then, you know, if it is real, that'll be very interesting. Is that the one, Thomas? If not, no worries. So, Club America, guys, I'm going to start off and say I think this has a lot of things going for it. When I see things like the treatment of that swoosh, which is absolutely stunning, like that alone, I think is top tier manufacturer mark treatment. Of course, Club America, one of the teams that get the top spec now of Nike's construction and materials, so drive for ADV in its full glory. One thing which Club America have done over the last few years is that they've actually recolored the Home Depot sponsor as well, which used to be a big orange blob, which wasn't to many people's taste. I didn't mind it too much, but then I am fairly liberal when it comes to that sort of thing. It did take away from the aesthetics on a lot of kits, but on this one they've recolored it, as with the other sponsors. This is excellent. I mean, it's funny, it looks particularly good obviously in context with the jacket there, with the pattern, but even on its own, it's very, very good. I don't know if it's quite Volcano tier for me though. I think I like it a lot. I'm going to say I think it's the colours which hold. I think design wise, I'm very, very big on this. It's got that understated look. The fact that the collar and the cuffs are in sync. I think the only thing that's probably stopping it, I say the only thing, but one of the things is just that mint green. I've seen too much for me to get excited about it. I think if it was a slightly fresher shade of green, like a not this kind of mint shade, I'd be a lot higher on it. almost on that basis, I think I'm going to stick it in the high end of the Flames tier. This is a very good shirt. Don't get me wrong, and I think, I mean, there is precedent. We may move a shirt post ranking at some point. We did that last week, I think, didn't we, on one of the shirts? But yeah, long and short, Thomas saying Flame, and I think similarly, and I really do like this. I mean, if we're gonna, within the Flames tier, within the second tier here, it's definitely one of the better ones. I think it is along the lines of the AOK shirt, which is obviously quite similar to the Puma shirt in terms of, it's another Nike shirt. But yeah, in short, I really like it. It's just that colour, guys. I mean, I shouldn't penalise it just on the basis of the mint, but I kind of have to. I think it compares something to the PSG one, actually. That's kind of my feelings. I'll stick it here. It's a very good start nonetheless, though. Club America are very good for shirts. Incheon United. It's Korea, I believe. And we've got Macron as well. So, Macron, a lot of people are quite high on. I've seen good stuff. I'm not as high on them as some others. I think in general, yeah, I'd see them in the kind of upper mid tier. This shirt, the pattern for me, I mean, there's plus points for the way it's nice that it goes over into the shoulders quite neatly. It's not just cut off to the body, and indeed it's reflected or continued on the bottom. So as an aesthetic, that's not bad. You can see the captain's armband there blending quite well, doesn't it? I must say, looking on the back, it's great to see it on the back as well, actually, that pattern. Even though it's a very subtle pattern, it's really good to see that. So to be honest, I wasn't sure whether this, was going to be... I wasn't too excited by it, but seeing those choices, the usage of the pattern, the neckline is fine. I don't hate that. With necklines can easily go wrong, but that one's fine. And indeed, there's a nice, again, when the cuffs and the collars of a shirt, the cuffs and the collar of a shirt, I should say, work well together. If that blue section was much bigger or smaller, I think it would look a bit funny. So in short, I think this is a candle tier. This is a very classic candle tier shirt where it's doing what it's trying to do pretty well. It's just not to my personal taste, or not something that I would look to collect. Not something which I think stands out. But it does do enough. It's certainly not in the Ice Cube tier, I think, for me. There are things which prevent it from falling into that relegation zone. So we'll stick it in here. We'll stick it in the middle. Middleman and Gary, or Gary, I don't know how you say your name, but welcome. Hello, Middleman. And Gary saying Sullivan, but not great, but solid. Exactly my thoughts as well. Now the away, we've talked a lot about on this show about, often we see the home and away in tandem. And I tend to quite like these kind of white or plain aways. And I must say, I really like the shade here. It looks like so described as ivory in the press release or on Football Shirt Culture site. And I do like that shade. And actually, when I look at this, I really like it. The collar is, of course, going to be coming back in a big way, particularly through Adidas kits. But like the home, and this is, again, great attention to detail from Macron. It's such a simple thing, but the way the cuffs are, expertly matched with the collar, the sponsor. It's interesting. We've got two different sponsors, and I don't know the difference here between these. I don't read Korean, obviously. Certainly this version looks a lot cleaner than this version. But this I actually really like, and honestly, the neckline's interesting. I think this is actually a potential Flames tier, and I think if it wasn't this ivory shade, I'd be a lot less excited by it. I think I would put this alongside the home. There's enough here for me to actually say, as I try to cut this shit out. Yeah, let's just go to the Flames tier. I really, really like that shade, that colour combo. It's a bit, it's a bit like the Universitario shirt here, That one is slightly more off-white, but I think there's it's kind of a bit of a mini trend. Quite a few teams have kind of gone for this season. The kind of off-white, cream, beige, even. You could even something like Liverpool's away shirt, of course Roma's shirt before that. Yeah, so it's on the lower end, but I think it really is quite smart. I think it's the sort of shirt which will fly under the radar. Of course, they're not going to be readily available as well. So if you do like it, it's one you'd probably need to go to the club shop or find someone in Korea who can go to the club shop, that kind of thing. Really good, really good. And as a home and away combo, that's excellent from Macron. Now we come to Quilmes, of course, famous sponsors of many a good Boca Juniors and River Plate shirt. Now, this is Hummel, so you guys know I'm a big Hummel fan. I do some work with Hummel. I'm presenting their show, Behind the Chevrons, which you should have all seen by now, but if you haven't, you should go and check it out. I must say, looking at this, I'm not jumping for joy with this one. There's not much on the home looking here to talk about, and actually I think there's some negatives here. The spacing for me, I think the Hummel wordmark logo, or the full, you got the B and the wordmark. It looks very small and it looks very squashed against that crest. The crest itself as well is one of the, South American crests can be very exciting. This one is not one of those. It's very generic. And that's, not specific to the shirt, but it does factor into the overall aesthetic. I think the Quilmes logo as well, it just feels like it's lost. And it's unfortunately, I think, quite a forgettable shirt. It is just quite forgettable. If not, even worse than forgettable. I don't know what would be below forgettable, but I think it's actually just not very well positioned, and the elements aren't particularly exciting. There seems to be, I think, a very subtle play on the Denmark 86 design, which Hummel did use for a number of clubs. You can think of Coventry City, who had a similar thing. I think that's going on in the body, but that doesn't save it for me. I actually think this is an Ice Cube tier shirt, which is a shame to say. I love Hummel. But they can't always win. Every brand is human. So that was going in the Ice Cube tier. I don't know if we kind of have many Hummel shirts in that tier, I'm sure. But yeah, I think it is just one I would pass by, and if anything, I think not only for the design, but just particularly the spacing and placement of the elements. It feels very very much a kind of afterthought. And Gangrel actually asking the question, hey, just curious, where would you rate Liverpool's away kit for this season? I really like it, Gangrel. I think, of course there was all the comparisons, I said as well at the time about the Roma kit before, but that Roma kit was one of the better ones of the year, so if you're going to copy a kit, you might as well do it on one of the better ones. So yeah, I like it. Of course it's had some good moments, the game against United. So it's one of my, I think of all the kits this year, it's definitely, in the top third. Certainly in the Premier League. I think even wider than that. Yeah, it's still very good. Of all the Liverpool kits though, I'm quite keen to pick up the yellow third, which isn't it's everyone's taste, the McDonald's kit, as some people have dubbed it. But yeah, that's my personal take. I like it a lot. And I'm no surprise it's doing well. Guys, we're just going to the away now for Quilmes. Now, plus point, the placement feels a lot better. Centralised crest can work well, but the Hummel logo just looks so squashed. It fits a lot better here. It still looks a bit small. Yeah, Kaka says you bad man. I know. I must be one of the few Liverpool fans who are the same who have that opinion. Yeah, and this one, it's got that kind of slightly painterly or even grungy kind of aesthetic with the stripes, but I don't know. It could just be these press shots aren't amazing, but seeing it there, I think I prefer it to the home, again, particularly because of the placement. And the pink feels like a complete afterthought. I quite like, and introducing like a third colour, a tertiary colour, can be really effective. But they could have done so much more. If you look at the whole slate of kits, there's very little in the way of, well, it's essentially white and different shades of blue. It would be nice to see more of the pink. You'd done tastefully, but I think it feels like way too little for what could be a much more interesting artistic kind of vibe. So, and Gary saying the way kits can be rugby vibes. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good comparison. It does have that rugby feel. I hate to say this is going to go in the Ice Cube tier as well. I mean, it's similar to the home shirt, and I probably prefer this to the home, but not by much. So I hate to see my boys humble down here. Fox saying, looks like on the football show coach, most of the MLS shirts are in the 22-23 tab. Yes, but that's true. We are going to get to the end of this section though. I think we're on page 2. Yeah, we're at the top of page 2. There's only one more page, and then we'll get to the 22-23. And I think now Football Shirt Culture, for whatever reason, have now done all their new releases on the second tab, and there's a good 6-7 pages of that. But yeah, we will come to that. Thomas saying had the exact same thought. Yeah, I think it's a bit disappointing. Now the third, however, guys, I'm higher on. I think we might be looking. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is Flames tier, but I think this is Candle tier. I really like these badges, these crests where you've just got one giant letter. There's a novelty to that, and I really like that. And honestly, that's way more exciting to me than the standing crest. Also, the half and half aesthetic has been executed well. The fact the sponsors, obviously flipped, and even the Quilmes sponsor fits, nicely. I'd like that Hummel logo a bit bigger, but that's besides the point. Interesting shoulder with the chevrons. This execution, I've not seen that look much before. Just 2 chevrons in there in the kind of blocked color section. But this is good. I mean, this is actually one of the better Candle tier shirts. This is, I think probably for me to get more excited by it, I'd want more chevrons. I think again that the Hummel logo, the Quilmes logo looks a bit small. And the Quilmes logo looks a bit too low. The Hummel logo looks a bit too small. This isn't a million miles away from being higher though. So I'm really big on this compared to the home and away. I think I'll take this easily over those two. I think I'm happy to put this, as I say, in the Candle tier, which is, the shirts that have some potential, something about them. And I'm going to stick it, I'll stick it kind of down here. Very, very decent. From Hummel. I think, it's, again, nice to see a bit of redemption after the first 2 shirts. Apologies, guys, as I blow my nose. Let's continue. We've got lots of shirts to get through. Oh, nice. RKC. Volvic Carver. I have no idea if that's how you say their name. Any Dutch speakers in chat can let me know. But this one got a lot of love in the community, and rightly so. It is absolutely fantastic. I certainly toyed with getting this one myself as well. It's really good. Of course, Carnival shirts, we've seen quite a few of them, particularly in Germany, but in other countries too. This is coming out of Holland, or the Netherlands, I should say. And an excellent shirt. It's got that very kind of dizzying pattern, but it's really fun, and I love the brightness of it. The shades of red are the primary colours. Really, really good. And honestly, guys, I think probably, if this had, and sublimated shirts can work well. Unfortunately, they're always going to lack that top tier quality. And I'm not saying a sublimated shirt couldn't get in the Volcano tier, but I think it has to be very, very good. And that's probably the only reason I wouldn't put it in the Volcano tier. Just because it is fully sublimated, it is probably the only thing I could say. And I want to be pretty strict for shirts to get in the top tier. If we compare it to something like a Belgrano, where you had the much better crest execution, or much more kind of high quality crest execution, that's not to take away from the aesthetic. Standard did a great job, but I really, it pains me to say it, but I think I'm going to stick it in the high end of the Flames tier. I really do like this. As I say, I'm happy to put it. Let's put it right in the corner. Yeah, I think it's excellent to see a club really go for it. The story is very clear, and they've absolutely nailed that. I think little things like the collar, it has more than one button. I like that. Great detail on the back. So really cool. Yeah, I think probably. I mean, that's the other thing as well. The three little beer sponsor, a nice contrast to the three little birds of Ajax. That's really cool. Lewis and Warwick had a lovely away top last year too. Nice. I don't remember seeing that, Lewis, but that's cool. Thomason, what was the carnival kit we had at the start of the season? That's a great question. We had the Mainz carnival kit. Now, the thing is, actually, when you compare the two, I think this one is a lot better than the Mainz one. I still think the Mainz one, even though it probably didn't, I don't think it got as much love as some of the previous ones, but I do think that was quite good, even though it was a much different style. Yeah, I think in hindsight, this one maybe actually is in danger of falling out, and we might come back to that. But obviously, seeing another carnival kit, you start to kind of compare and think, oh, actually, this one probably is better. Well, it is better, certainly. But yeah, that was the one, Thomas. And middleman say, Phil, what do you think of that orange pattern Juve train top? Yeah, the train top is really fun, middleman. I think, yeah, it's interesting to see that Adidas. I think, am I right in saying all the kits they've been given their top tier teams have been bespoke, which is really interesting. And yeah, I really like that one. I think it's the most exciting of the bunch. Someone compared it to the San Antonio Spurs, the NBA team. Well, I think multiple teams from San Antonio have had similar vibe with those colours, and it's looked really good in the past. Now we come to America Mineiro. I'm guessing they're Brazilian, but let's have a look. They are Brazilian. From Belo Horizonte. This one, it's really hard to overlook that. What is that detail there? That looks incredibly naff. I must say that is, props for doing something different, but it really is distracting. And we've seen some Volt shirts before. I can't remember the team names, but I really don't like their logo. It looks really small. Like, it looks hilariously small. But I think I really can't get over this area on the shirt here. Yeah, front and center. It feels like an unnecessary. It almost looks like an extra bit of material there, but it distracts quite a lot for me. And I think on that basis, it has to go in the Ice Cube tier, guys. That on top of the Volt logo style, but I think in general, yeah, it's hard when you're evaluating these shirts. Sometimes when you see them in person, of course, you get much more of a feel for them, but it does look quite cheap on the pictures. And little things like, yeah, I'm not excited by it, and I wouldn't get my way to collect it. So we're going to sit that, unfortunately, in the Ice Cube tier. So apologies to any fans of the club, but yeah. Their crest is reasonable. It's got that South American feel. But not big on this one. Not big on this one at all. And Thomas saying a bit Sassuolo. Yes, it's very Sassuolo. That's a good comparison. Colours a bit odd, harsh feel. Yeah, I think in some ways I could see the argument. They've not done anything too weird. It's solid stripes, and if you've got a team with stripes, of course, the temptation is to do something a bit crazy, and it really doesn't land. But this one, yeah, I'm gonna stick it just straight in. I cannot overlook that area. It just, even the way it's pulling there. I mean, it's not pulling, but it's kind of starting to pull. It's really distracting to me. But there we go. And Justin Glasses say Big Rabbit. Do they actually? That is funny. That is funny. I'm guessing that's the team name. Team nickname, I should say. And Giles is saying, "Do Portuguese league? I'm interested to know your thoughts." Yeah, we'll certainly get to the Portuguese club, Giles. They'll obviously fall in line with the European releases. But yeah, we'll certainly get to those. It says, "I'm interested in knowing your thoughts on some Portuguese brands." Yeah, I've seen one or two over the year, so that'll be fun to see. And Gaggle summing up, saying the colour scheme is intriguing, but that colour, yeah, similar thoughts. Now, Club Olympia, we've seen, I think, the home and away shirts. And if I remember correctly, if I have a quick look at our little list, I believe they're the ones who we had their home, which we really liked, and indeed their away was also, what was it? I can't remember if it was the candle or the flames tier. Here we go. So both in the flames tier. This third shirt. Now the green and gold has some potential. Middleman. This website is Football Shirt Culture. It's an excellent website. I personally use these guys just for new shirt releases. They're not as quick as some like Pretty Headlines, but they tend to present it much better. There's less ads on the site. So yeah, it's a really good site, Football Show Culture. This isn't sponsored by them or anything. They do an excellent job there. I honestly haven't found a better site for summing up new releases. So shout out to them. Maybe I should be sponsored by them. I should probably speak to them. Anyway, Club Olympia. I think this one as a design, the colours are strong. It's all good, man. Anytime. Yeah, the colours are strong. This design is one of Nike's template designs. It wasn't used by a crazy number of clubs. It wasn't kind of. I'm not completely bored by it. And of course, even though the details don't pop nearly as much as they did on the home and away, you've still got that. I honestly, just as a detail, that's one of my favourite little patches. It's a lovely design and a nice level of kind of bespoke detailing. Yeah, so looking at this, it's not in the flames tier for me, simply because, again, being an off-the-shelf pattern, and even though the colours, it's reasonable, I'm glad it's not another mint shirt. Zhao, actually, with a great shirt, so it looks like Ireland 2020 New Balance shirt. Yeah, that's a really good comparison, actually. It does have that kind of vibe. So yeah, this one is definitely in the counter tier, and we're not going to see many better trios of shirts than we will for Club Olympia. Again, when you think about how high we were on the home, that was an outside shout even for the Volcano tier, and the away was an excellent combo. And it's good to see, you've got kind of something for everyone: the sash for the away, the band across the middle of the home, and then this one, which is more of a kind of standard patterned shirt. But it's very good, and Nike doing some good work over in Paraguay. Camel tier, though, I think is definitely the way to go. And Lewis saying colour scheme quite similar to Italy's away third. Yeah, it was the third, Lewis. Yes, although I would say, so this is the thing, and I'm a bit of a pedant in this area, but I think the colours of the shirt here are much better. Now, of course, we're looking at promo pictures here. But I think that shade, and even that's a naff retail picture. If you look at here, good old Foot Fanatics, my guys. I think, comparing the two side by side, again, we're looking at retail pictures, but I much prefer Italy's shade of green. It's a very subtle distinction, but even the crest as well, the gold, I just think that's nicer, and a little bit of navy. It's just and obviously the pattern was bespoke, so I think you can compare those, and this is. I think it's trying to do the same thing, but it doesn't do it as well. But yeah, it is a good comparison. And of course, anytime you see a shirt this popular, you're going to see it trickle down into other kits as well. Now we come to Rangers Legends kit. I believe this was worn or will be worn. Okay, 27th of March, so it's going to be worn for the Legends game. I wouldn't always rank these shirts, but I think as it's coming on this list, I will, just for. Well, actually, you know what? If it's not going to be worn in a competitive game, I think I will avoid it. Legends. Yeah, I'm going to say we're not going to rank this one. But if anyone knows if it will be worn in a competitive fixture, let me know. I think we'll avoid shirts. I think we have avoided them so far, and it makes sense. If anyone knows, do let me know. Otherwise, I'll move on. For what it's worth, I don't particularly like this, but yeah. Thomas said, disappointed to see Italy move to Adidas and other Puma kits. Yeah, Puma and Italy were excellent. I'm excited just because I think it's such a big transfer of manufacturers that, yeah, there's a lot of kind of potential. But of course, Adidas do need to step up. They haven't been amazing, so we'll see how they get on. Lewis said it's Legends friendly. Yep. Thank you, Lewis. That makes sense. So we come to Bibiani Gold Stars, and I really like Icarus. I'm just going through their kits in the last couple of weeks. I've been profiling some of the teams. I think these guys will be either this week or next as well. So I myself have been learning about these clubs, and these are clubs in Ghana that Icarus have been working with. Most of them are top tier Ghana. I think in terms of, we have to start, the designs are typically Icarus. Excellent use of patterns, excellent use of colours. Minus points for the sublimation, but at the same time, not in a way that I think harms these kits too much. I think this is really, really good. And again, Icarus are one of those really good smaller manufacturers who go out of their way to again, create excellent patterns and do really good bespoke work. And that's the key thing, really. When you've got these smaller manufacturers and relatively smaller clubs, you want to see bespoke treatment. So if we start with the home, which I believe is the black and green, but I might be wrong. All over pattern, which is really nicely done. And, even though, again, we're not reaching the higher tiers given the treatment of the crest, it's just sublimated. But I really love the design. I think it's probably in the counter tier simply because I'd want to see a little bit more extra quality on those cuffs and collars and indeed the applications. But lovely pattern work nonetheless. And this is just typical bread and butter Icarus. This is the kind of thing they do. This is their, as I say, their sort of standard, their sort of vibe. And when they get it right, they get it really right. I think they've done better kits than this, but this is still very decent. So it's going to go in the counter tier. And the higher end of the counter tier, we'll stick it kind of, in the upper portion. Generally speaking on this list, anything more towards one end of the tier is better or worse. So a shirt here, for example, I like more than the shirts on this end, but, I'm not overthinking it too much. As we continue with the away, now I like this even more. And there's something about, I think, the colour balance here. A lot of away kits, of course, it would be easy just to go for a white version of this, but I think I like this pattern. I really like, you've got, again, the colours, it's the white base, but then those shades of green and yellow are really nice. And I like the kind of style here where you've got not just this kind of cutaway pattern, but it's also itself within kind of these really these kind of blobs, these frames. But I like this, and I think this, again, even though it's missing a nice chunky crest and a manufacturer mark, I think this one I like the aesthetic more than the home. I like the overall look more than the home. And this is a Flames ticket, and again, this is despite it's got those sublimated elements, and it's not copying. Again, we had this before actually. We're gonna we'll paste it in like this. If we go this way, there we go. Yeah, so it's not the first. I don't think it's the first kind of fully sublimated kit, but not many are going to get in the higher tiers. But that tells you how much I like the design. I think it's really good. It's an excellent away shirt. When I says, did you like the new Las Vegas live shirts? I did. I was gutted that the Maber sponsor, or the Maber kind of in the sponsor position, was replaced by a I think it was a crypto company, or certainly a company who deals in that sort of area. Was it Cloudcoin or something, wasn't it? So yeah, that was a bit of a shame to see, because the Maber looked great at the front. But yeah, no, in short, the away particularly is excellent, and the home is good. So yeah, really, really nice work for Maber. And on the third, rounding off the collection, you know, it's nice. You've got that predominantly kind of green shirt and the white shirt, and now the yellow. I think this one of the set, it's a very wearable design, and in terms of the pattern as well, I'm just trying to get a look and see if it's different. It looks, I might be wrong, but it looks like the same pattern as you can see, you know, the cutout of the away. I think it is. Either way, it's good. It's lacking that kind of top tier, and I think it's a bit closer to the home than the away for me. So I'll stick it again in the higher end of the candle tier. I think it's a good collection of kits, just on colour and pattern work alone. I think this is really good. You know, to get into those higher tiers, I'd like to see. It's just those things. It's hard when you're a smaller manufacturer, but I'd love to see, you know, a plastic crest or TP crest, and then a little bit of extra kind of like detail work, you know, in those areas like the cuffs and the collars and places like that, where you can really kind of take it to the next level. But given the brief, Icarus have fulfilled it. That, you know, that's certainly, yeah, certainly one thing I'd say about them. They do a lot of bespoke treatment. It's good to see. Moving to Germany, we have Stuttgart's World shirt, and this was part of a series of shirts which Jacko released. This one we talked about off-white, and we've got it again. Really, really nice shade. I mean, this just on the basis of colour. We talked a lot about colour in this episode. This subliminal pattern as well, embossed pattern, which was part of the collection of kits. A few teams, again, Jacko teams, had this same kind of circular text, which I think looks quite good. You know, look at the detail shots. It's really nice. It's lovely to see that close up. Miniman says he loves it, and I agree. I think it's really good. In terms of and this is not specific to this shirt, but I personally, the brand marks which Jacko have, we've got the logo and the dots. That's one of my least favourite kind of brand details. Just from an aesthetic point of view, I think it often detracts, and I'd say it does here. But, you know, that's a rare kind of negative point. Bone, yeah, Miniman said I'd call it bone marrow or pearl white. Yeah, that's a good shout. I think that's a good shout. It's that kind of, yeah. Yeah, pearl sounds a bit better than bone marrow, doesn't it? Or bone white, I guess, because marrow would be the inside, wouldn't it? But yeah, some nice details as well. I don't know if that's like just a holographic kind of stuff, or it might even be limited, kind of the numbering or the issue number. I don't know. But no, this is really good. This is a really, really good shirt. Again, it's a nice choice of colour, and I like this detail. It's not, you know, often these kind of wordy, and you see it a lot, don't you, when you see, particularly anniversary kits, they have all the kind of season ticket holders' names or something. That can feel quite overdone. But this, I think, is a nice play on that. So in short, this is a Flames t-shirt for me. It's a really good shirt, nicely put together. And even though, you know, I'm not a big kind of Jacko guy, again, those elements feel very cheap to me, but it's still a good shirt. And I think I'll probably put it on the kind of lower end of the Flames tier, more for kind of personal taste. And again, I'm yet to really be convinced by Jacko as a brand, but they've done excellent for Stuttgart here. And we'll come to some more of those shirts as well, I think, very soon. I'm sure the other releases will pop up. So we'll stick it here. It's a good shirt. It's a good shirt. Stuttgart as well. Thomas can give it a Volcano. And again, I'm disagreeing with you, Thomas, but I think were the sleeves better, and that's more of a Jacko thing than anything else. But I think, did we see that? If we saw that, I should say. I think, and I think the details as well. The little patch. I'm being very picky, but if that was a bit like a, you know, plastic application, I'd rate it more than this kind of transfer style. I'm being very picky though. What about says Jacko is a German brand? Yes, I believe so. I don't know if it's Jacko or Jaco actually. I don't know how they pronounce their name. I believe they are. They certainly work with a lot of German teams. Oh boy. Guys, I'm not going to waste too much time on this one. This is a terrible shirt. Now, lots has been said about Napoli. I've tweeted a couple of times. You can go and read the tweets. The Maradona ones are the worst of the bunch, and this is real ugly. This is real ugly. 1 second, I just need to catch up to live. Here we go. Yeah, it's easily, I'm going to say it now, I think it's the worst kit we've seen. I might even, you know what, as we're here, I don't want to make a habit of this, but I'm going to actually put this falling off the edge of the side. That's how little I like this. Much to be said about Napoli, and I think it's fascinating to me that they're releasing so many new shirts, but I'm going to stick this literally falling off the edge. Yeah, as I say, I don't want to make a habit of this. I want to stick to the integrity of the wall, but at the same time, I can't ignore the Maradona shirt. It is terrible. I just think it's well, it would be bad in its own. It's even worse given that we've seen all these other colour variations, which, from all I can tell, have just changed the base colour. So it kind of, it's just naff. It is just naff. But there we go. We won't dwell on that too long. To also have a white kit bias, I can definitely relate to that, Thomas. Certainly, often when we compare. Oh, sorry guys. Often when we compare home and away, I prefer the away. I mean, it's, you know, there's a fair spread, but you can see quite a few white shirts in the Flames tier, so yeah, I think I'm similar. Special edition shirt. This one, I mean, it leans on the clean aesthetic. It's is it a bit too clean? I mean, I liked the Universitario home shirt, and you can see that there in the Flames tier. I think that was the home. If it wasn't the home, it was one of the other shirts released this year. I think this one, sometimes clean can be good, but this one I think is a bit too half-hearted. Now that the pattern is very nice in the sense that it is very subtle. It's the kind of thing you'd like to see. I don't think it is, but if it was like the kind of ventilation pattern, like in any of Nike's kind of recent releases, for example, or the top tier releases where you have the kind of Vaporknit or Dry for ADV ventilation panels and patterning, which makes those kind of subliminal patterns. I think that's really good. As is in this, it looks to be just a print. It is quite a nice aesthetic, but I'm not big on the neckline. This style doesn't do much for me, and the colour as well. It's an interesting choice, this kind of mint green, but I've mentioned that kind of colour before. And the back neck detail, very nice. Seems to be very, very kind of simple in terms of, I think it is just a transfer. It's not, doesn't look as high quality as some other stuff. So this one I think falls into the lower end of the counter tier. What's keeping it from the bottom tier, I think, is that pattern. I think it is nice, and I think it shows. I think that approach is good as a base, but it's, again, the neckline. I don't like the shade of colour, and I think the details could be higher quality. That keeps it from these top two tiers, but it's not in the bottom tier. I do think there are nice elements. That pattern, I think, is quite nicely executed. Not as nice, as I say, as if it was the kind of ventilation style. I think that can really add a lot to a shirt. We'll stick it down here. And yeah, marathon, I like a lot of this stuff. As Thomas says, boring. Yeah, I think that kind of sums it up for this one. Here we go. We have Guarenia. Again, apologies for my pronunciation. Kyrgios, a band we've talked a lot about. They've popped up a few times on this list. As I just try and knock my teeth out having a drink. It's an interesting one. Just looking through the pictures, I don't like that side detail. It feels like a very knockoff Nike look, that. And I don't know if it's just the badly ironed shirt or the bad press shots, but it just feels like a bad Argentine shirt. Of course, there is more to it. There is a nice pattern in the body. And the neckline, it's, you know, it's certainly markedly better than the one we just seen. Interesting to see what looks like a kind of upside down detail on the shirt. And you see, I think, you know, here you do get a good look at the pattern, and it is a nice, it looks almost like a stained glass window. I don't know if that's the vibe they're going for. But I think, honestly, this side detail really doesn't do it for me. I'm toying with this one. It's in the bottom two tiers, I think, unfortunately. When I look at it, I think it has to go in the bottom tier. You know, despite the nice direction with the pattern, elements like that side part just look very knockoff to me. And also, there's something about the imbalance when you've got a centralized crest and then a manufacturer mark. That doesn't always mean it's a bad shirt, but I think, you know, it's harder to make that look good. I think if the Kyrgios was centralized, it could look better. So it's going to be in the upper end of the ice cube tier for me. Middleman says, Phil, do you see the new Rare Pascal shirt? What was your first impression? I thought it was okay. I'll probably buy. Yeah, I really like it, Middleman. I think in terms of, you know, mashup shirts, we've seen a few of them, but most of them haven't been executed as well as that one, I think. It's nice. They very clearly explained the story and showed, even on the shirt, I think, the different shirts. You know, they listed the year when the different home shirts were on. And I think, given, you know, how tricky it would be to incorporate multiple striped home shirts, I think they've actually did it really well. So yeah, in short, I think it's excellent. Yeah, and Thomas mentioned the picture. It did look, yeah, much better on here compared to here. It's close. You can see I stuck it on this end. I think it is close to the next tier, but I'm sticking it down here. That one could get bumped up. Again, we may move some of these later on. But you come to the away, and I much prefer this. I've said this for a few away shirts. Wow, I really like that. I mean, even with the sponsors, you know, the jot tag detail looks a lot better. You've got that kind of stained glass look, and that's really cool. And just the creativity. Again, you've got the similar stained glass vibe, but it's got this sunburst thing. I'd love to see that continue on the sleeves, but even though it doesn't, I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's a much more exciting look, and I'm gonna say they haven't done this kind of naff side taping, which is good to see. So this is much better, and I don't mind. I mentioned about the imbalance potential, but I think because of the way the Kyrgios logo is incorporated and the way that those rays burst out of the crest, really cool. And Thomas said this just feels like I'm in a church. Yeah, it does have that kind of grand cathedral look. It's really good. I mean, even with the sponsors, of course, it's crazy with those sponsors, as you do get with a lot of South American teams. But that's not. I don't think that. I still like that. They've incorporated it as best they can, and either way, I actually think we're looking at a Flames tier. I really like that look, and this is a different story from the home. I'm much higher on this. I really like that little detail. It's just. You know, I don't know, maybe I missed the story on the home detail, but yeah. So even on the, again, even sponsored, the sponsors I think looks better here, but yeah. This is going to the Flames tip. This is good stuff from Kyrgios, and this is some of the best work I've seen from them. Really fun story and execution. Nice use of colour. I think it looks great. Really creative. I don't know the story behind the church stained glass window look, but this is great, and I'll happily stick this up here in the Flames tier. Nice job from Kyrgios. We're nearly on to the end of this section, and then we'll jump to the next 22-23 kit. So we're making some moves, guys. We're making some moves. We're catching up. Of course, as we go through, as a few of you guys have done, do ask questions as well as we go through. Always happy to chat. We come to Avai. Now, these guys have had some interesting kits with Umbro over recent years. Looking here, it's not very obvious on the pictures, but if we do see the product shots, you can see a subliminal pattern which looks like almost like a lion almost like a constellation or like a origami line or something. I'm not sure exactly, but you can see here there's a little patch. A very simple transfer. It's a nice design, even though it's just a little transfer. Obviously, again, which is typical, it's going to have sponsors added to it. I think this is actually. I like the way they've got the pattern subliminally. I think that works well. This sort of pattern adds a lot of depth to a shirt, which otherwise looks like it could be plain, and the plain shirt's not necessarily bad, but I think it's nice to have that pattern here. And yeah, a collar, which again has very much come back in fashion this year. There's just enough, I think, to take this one into the counter tier. Oh, I've accidentally opened Lightroom. That's not what I want to do. Yeah, apologies there. I'll close that. Otherwise my computer will start freaking out as I open too many Adobe programs. Avi. Solid. Very solid. And I think, again, it's Umbro in Brazil. They have quite a modern heritage. I've certainly championed them for quite a while now and spoken about how much I like them. So this one, yeah, it's very much the kind of middle to upper camel tier for me. To get into the next tier, I think I'd want to see. I'm not, a huge fan of those kind of sleeves and the style. That pattern, I think, even though I like the overall aesthetic, it could be a bit more intricate. I think if they were a bit smaller and you had a bit more going on, potentially in the sleeves or the back, I think that would help a lot. Minimato reminds me of Shower Potato from a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, that's a good shout. It does have that vibe for sure. And we come back to Jacko. We had a Stuttgart shirt on it. Now I've got the Bayer Leverkusen shirt, which was recently worn in their game against Cologne or Köln. Really, really interesting treatment of the Bayer Leverkusen crest to go in that kind of cream colour, or beige even. And again, I would assume that's the city emblem or crest, or the region. I'm not sure. But yeah, very smart. I think if we were to compare it, I'm not as big on this as I am on the Stuttgart shirt. I do like the colour, and I don't know if it's different to the. I think it looks more beige or slightly darker than the Stuttgart shirt, but it is very good. I really like that centralised, sponsor replacement. It's great to see that that they've committed to that. That is a big plus point. And you've got that nice texture, which again we had in the Stuttgart shirt. So even though I like the Stuttgart one more, this one is, I think, an outsider for the Flames category. I say outsider because I'm toying with either. I think I will stick it in there. I think the combination, and we've got the Stuttgart one there. I think the combination of the colour and that sponsor, or replacement sponsor. I'm a sucker for this kind of detail. Now let's just find out what it is. Yeah, the city coat of arms. So that the sponsor, the fair play to them. They've stepped back, allowed this one to breathe, and it's essentially almost a monochrome shirt, but a really, really nice colour. Not to everyone's taste, not the most kind of football shirt colour, but it is a kind of trend. We've seen it on a number of kits. We've seen this kind of being pushed. Thomas saying not overly sold. The crest in the middle is a bit odd. Yeah, I can see you're thinking. Although I would say that, for me, it doesn't bother me as much, and I like that it's nice and large on there. I think if it was much smaller, which could easily be the case, it's less impactful. But no, I like this one. Another one in the Flames tier. Even though it's not, I prefer the Stuttgart one. And yeah, they look, at least on the press shots, they look to be a different colour. But another kind of shade of off-white, very much on trend. One to continue to follow. So let's see how much we've got to catch up. I'll stick around for a bit longer. Okay, so on page 7, I think let's do another good half hour. And we're going to kick off with Portland Timbers. Now, This one got a lot of love. I think of all the new MLS releases, Portland Timbers was probably the most, it got the most love, and there's good reason for that. We talked about good detailing, and particularly in the kind of jock tag area, so this kind of bottom areas of the shirt here. This is as good as it gets. Just on that detail alone, that is like a Volcano tier detail. Is the shirt a Volcano tier shirt? Are we talking the hottest shirts of the year? I am honestly not as high on this as the other shirts we put in the Volcano tier. Now, there's huge points for being creative, and this is not a colour scheme I can ever think I've seen on a shirt. And we have seen quite a few rose-based kits. You know, we can think of certainly the Portland Timbers sister club, Portland Thorns. But you know, England women had a great away kit again, which utilised roses, and I think I've just preferred that pattern. I think this one, it feels a bit washed out. You know, there's merit to that, and I think, you know, the England away kit wasn't to everyone's taste, but I think I preferred that. You know, it felt a bit crisper. The level of the detail was a bit better. And this is fresh. The detail is absolutely, as I said, that just is amazing on a shirt. That's top tier from Adidas. So I think this is definitely in the Flames tier. Maybe, I don't know, maybe to some people's surprise, it's not in the Volcano tier for me, but I like it a lot. I think, you know, you compare this, say, to one of Portland's rivals, Seattle, their Jimi Hendrix kit, which is still being used this year as an away. I think I like that one even more. And that probably that one I think was a potential Volcano. This one, despite its creativity, and it is excellent, it's good to see Adidas. I mean, this is a big thing, really, isn't it, with Adidas? They're doing more interesting things. They are starting to step out. Andres, you're back for some MLS action. We've just been talking about Portland Timbers. Yeah, so a good shirt from Portland Timbers. It must be said, it's a hot shirt. I think it's a very collectible shirt. It's got those bespoke elements. Just the aesthetics of the pattern aren't 100% with me, and even though the colours are very fresh, it's not my favourite colour scheme. Although I do really like the direction. It's good to see that from Adidas. Trying something new. But we've got a bit of an MLS feast now. This is good to see. Let's come to LA Galaxy. Now, in terms of the big feature, and I'm not going to talk too much, guys, about the differences between replica and player issue, of course, and I've mentioned this before, many people on Twitter have, about how bad the differences are and how bad the replicas look. They're missing key details, but we'll focus on the authentics for the purpose of this series. Looking here at LA, I think even though the base style is pretty simple, I mean, that's the same for most MLS kits, this use of the star in the collar cuffs is really nice. It's of course a key feature of the crest, and I think that's really nice. That's not something we've seen Adidas do loads, even though this base construction is the typical one. But I really like that choice, and to be honest, you know, I'd love for the cuffs to go all the way around and not cut off, but that's something with these Adidas kits and other kits. And to be fair, it does continue for most of it, and that's really good. And I think this is one of the better LA Galaxy home kits I've seen in the last few years. I think it is really good. You know, I'd love for the stripes to go further, but they are at least a bit longer on this current iteration of Adidas' construction, which is good. The jock tag, though not as good as the Portland Thorns one, is still very nice. It's still got that level of detail, or that kind of, you know, slightly raised feature, which is good. So this is actually, dare I say it, I think it is actually a Flames tier. When I look at this, you know, it's, of course, despite being mostly plain on the body, like other, you know, LA Galaxy kits, I think this is a really nice way of mixing it up. And I think that use of the star in the collar cuffs is really good. I think this is a really good Galaxy home shirt. You know, I've enjoyed some of the sash efforts that they've had over the years, and I think, you know, I'm not saying this is one of the best ones I've had, but I do think this is one I'd like to own if I was a Galaxy fan. I think those colours, the collar and cuffs especially, are really, really good. Catching up as well. Rover says, not sure how I feel about the rose rather than the neck. I would have placed them differently. Yeah, it has that kind of almost like a tattoo, doesn't it? Like a neck tattoo. I'd agree. I think just the pattern doesn't quite hit those notes for me. The high notes, that is. And I'm just saying which other MLS teams have you already come across. So just Portland Thorns. Sorry, Timbers. So far, Andreas. Let's continue. So, good start for MLS kits. Now, of course, they're not all going to be that high. But really good start. We continue with Colorado Rapids. Now, of all the colour schemes in MLS, this is one of my least favourite colour schemes. There's something about that combo. You know, they're remarkably system, the Rapids. But I quite like, I don't know, I like a lot of West Ham kits and even Villa kits as well. So similar colour schemes, but for some reason the Colorado Rapids ones just don't tend to land as well for me. I think it's a balance issue again when it tends to be, 80-90% of the maroon and then a little bit of the light blue. Usually I want to see a bit more light blue come through. The little C detail is pretty cute. I don't mind that, but and the pattern, it feels like, if I haven't seen this pattern on another shirt, we are going to see another pattern. It's a bit too generic for me. I get that it's the mountain, the Rockies kind of vibe, but I think this is actually just an Ice Cube tier shirt. And Adidas across the board have stepped it up. I think they are generally better than they have been in recent years as a whole. But this one is one of the worst MLS shirts for me. Yeah, I think it's just, again, the colour scheme. It feels very tired. I feel like I've seen it many times before. Back to the Galaxy kit, I'm just saying, as much as I hate LA Galaxy having beaten my Revs in 3 MLS Cup finals, I do like how from brand perspective they're running the Quasar. Yes, the Quasar, that's it. Not the star, I should say, but it's been a great. I think you're right from a branding perspective. Of course, it's not as good as the 90 stuff as well, but it is excellent. So there we go. That's the Rapids. Back down to earth for MLS. And I think it's a similar story with Seattle. And I've really enjoyed some Seattle kits. Some of my favourite MLS kits have been Seattle Sounders. There was a nice story about this detail. Even though the detail is very simple and it's just that simple transfer, someone pointed out the 74, which is in reference to the foundation of the original club in Seattle. It actually reads 74 when you look at it upside down as well, which is a really nice little touch. I'm not big on this pattern though. I think the colours, we talked about colours on the Rapids one, as opposed to the Colorado Rapids where I find the colours scheme quite tired. Seattle's, they have one of the most vibrant schemes in the league. It's almost a bit too daring sometimes. I'm not a big fan. I've said before, these kind of elements where you've got almost like a central or a stripe detail which then kind of fades away like a gradient, kind of often might be described as emanating kind of waves or lines, and I'm not big on it. It feels like checkerboard details can look really nice, and I think if you saw that, I mean, something like Liverpool's third kit, I much prefer that direction where you'd have it on the cuffs and the collar, for example. So this one, I hate to say it, because I do like Seattle kits generally, but this is one of my least favourite Seattle Sounders kits. It's good to see if this is a bespoke pattern. It obviously has something more about it than if it ends up being reused. But I think this is a bit more like the Colorado Rapids kit for me than the Galaxy or what was the other one we looked at? I've forgotten already now. The Portland Timbers. It's more like the Colorado one for me. So we'll stick it down here. I just said I can see that pattern be used for Croatia, but obviously in red and white, if they had to be a bit creative. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think that could work. But then if that was a Croatia kit in those colours, it would be one of my least favourite Croatia kits as well. I think my issue is more with the pattern than the colours. Now, Austin FC. a relatively new club in MLS. This one, many people were talking about it in kind of mint terms, but I think this one is actually, I mean, it falls under the broad mint umbrella, but it's green enough, and it's going to sound funny, but it's got enough green in the palette that I quite like this. I think, you know, it's very simple, but I do like kits. I don't know if my internet's down, but I'm assuming. Can you guys still hear me? If you can, or if you can't, or if you can, yeah, just let me know. Might just be the site. Yeah, I like kits, generally speaking, that have just two colours. I think it's a strong design decision when you're able to just pick two. And even though this is relatively plain, you know, if you sometimes it muddies the waters just to throw in these extra colours or extra shades of the colours that are already there. And the black pops really nicely on that base. And again, I think if that shade was a bit bluer, if it looked a bit more like a mint, a more kind of bluey minty shade, I think this would go down. Miniman, thanks so much for stopping by, mate. Thanks for your chat. It's been really good to have you. Really, really good as always. Take care, mate. Yeah, this one, I think it has some, you know, despite the simplicity, it has some merit. That detail, the jot tag, we've seen many of these, and it's not as good as the Portland Timbers one, but it's kind of fun. I don't know what it's referring to. Oh, so sorry. I'm doing my customary yawns as we continue. They have a great crest as well. I really like their crest. Yeah, so this one, I think, honestly, it's going in the Flames tier again. Another good MLS kit. And despite, you know, this is a good example for me where colours and details make a kit more than a pattern does. You know, they're blessed with things like a good crest, and the sponsor's quite good as well. Thomas said he doesn't like the sponsor. I personally like it. I like that kind of chunky aesthetic. It does dominate, but I think the bold text works well, and I do rate it. But sometimes I feel like I'm disagreeing with you a lot today. I promise it's nothing personal. So yeah, that's going to the Flames tier. The lower end of the Flames tier, but it's another good. You know, this is a good year for MLS kits, broadly speaking. Even though Adidas, they could be doing so much more, but I don't mind it at all. It's one of my preferred ones. New York Red Bulls. This one, I think, I'm not overly wowed by, and I don't know if it's a bit slow today. I'm not overly wowed by the kind of hand-drawn aesthetic. I feel like I've seen that quite a lot. But, you know, it's really, like, plus points for the fact it goes on the sleeves. That really helps. And I think that alone stops it from being in the bottom tier. The funny thing is that I actually probably quite like to see this with the full colour version of the logo. And I wouldn't always say that. And, you know, maybe that's contradicting what I just said about keeping the colours down. But I think I'd like to see that more. And dare I say it, actually have some yellow elements or gold elements. Again, that goes in the face of what I just said about colours somewhat. But I think this is an example where, well, I think the combo, the red and white, is less of a draw for me than the colours of the Austin kit. But as I say, really good to see. I mean, it doesn't go on the back, which is a shame, but really good to see on, you know, take the shirt on its front, it looks good. Nice backnet detail. It looks like we're missing anything on the jot tag area, but that's fine. So in short, I think this is probably in the higher candle tier for me. I do think it's a tier below some of the other stuff we've seen, such as Portland, such as Austin. But, you know, again, when we think about some of the MLS kits we've seen in recent years, this is certainly not a bad effort. You know, in other years, in other seasons, this would be well into the top half of MLS kits. I mean, it might even be in the top half, to be fair, and this year it's solid. And I'll put it certainly on this end of the spectrum of the tier. New York Red Bulls. Obviously, the Red Bull thing isn't for everyone for various reasons. The way they gobble up teams and spit them back out. But having said that, I think most people, or a lot more people, are coming around to them than when they first came on the scene. But anyway, regardless of that, we're not here to talk about Red Bull. But yeah, regardless of your thoughts on that, I think you can say that's a decent kit. Now we come to New England. We've got a few New England fans in the chat, and certainly sort of regular viewers who are New England fans. Lots to talk about the crest of this one, and I think I was, I wasn't bowled over by the crest simply because it had that kind of round element. I would have loved to have seen them lead with that inner element. I think the shape's more interesting. You would have added a lot more to the aesthetics of the kit. When we look at the jock tags as well, this is one of my least favourites that I've seen. I think just the fact it doesn't have those nice raised elements that some of the other ones did, that would have taken this up considerably. Looking as well at the pattern, now I think it's bespoke. I don't think I've seen this particular pattern before on a kit, but even I like subliminal patterns can work really well, but the pattern itself isn't doing enough for me. Now I don't know if there's a story there. I'll have a quick look. It says it's inspired by Boston's Freedom Trail, a walking trail through the heart of Boston. I mean, there's nothing exciting about that. And I think, again, the style is good, but the pattern itself, I'm not a fan of. Nice subliminal style, but the pattern is pretty forgettable. And similarly, I think this one is really calling out for something better on the cuffs and collar. Whether it's something like the LA Galaxy style, but more than that, I think it's more just something a bit more to elevate it from being relatively plain. I think, for example, if you've got a pattern in the body, maybe that feeds into the collar and cuffs a bit or something like that. So it's a solid but unspectacular start for the new crest. Let's have a look. Sometimes I'm unsure, and then we have to just look at the tier list to kind of get more of a picture of where this relates or sits compared to the other shirts. So let's just have a look here. Resize. I think I'm in an R in between the bottom two tiers. I don't think we're in the Flames tier. I think I'm going to put it in the Ice Cube tier, and I hate to say it for the fans in the chat. Again, we've got a few Revolution fans. I think it wouldn't take much to push it in the higher tiers. I think a better pattern or a more interesting pattern for me that communicates the story better or just is more aesthetically pleasing. That jock tag detail could be so much better. Similarly, it just feels like it's missing a detail, something to take it. The thing is with shirts like this, clean can be good. Sometimes less is more, but I think I want more in this example. I'll just say such awful performances by them last night in CONCACAF Champions League at Pumas and at home. Yeah, was it last night the throwing away the lead, which you hate to see, unless you're a Pumas fan, of course. But yeah. Apologies, commiserations, so there we go. I had to think long and hard about that one. Let's finish on this page. We've got a few more MLS kits, and then we'll call it a day. But we've got, next up, Philadelphia Union. Now, this is essentially a bit of a throwback, isn't it, really? Many of the older Union kits had this look. Now, we talked about colour schemes a lot when we talked about the Colorado kit. And I think on this Philadelphia kit, it's another one of those colour schemes which just doesn't do it for me. The gold is very hard to pull off. I think if you're going to have it as part of your main palette, yeah, it's tricky. Honestly, it's tricky to get that shade right. It's tricky to kind of balance it well. And just quickly on the New England kit. I'm just saying, sadly I agree that kit is limited to be designed. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Something to be designed. That's often the case, I think, with a lot of these kits in this kind of area. Some ideas which could work, but something to be designed for sure. It has that feel of a lot of those old Philadelphia kits. And you know, it's not a look that you see loads of. Despite it's a classic thing over the years, but seeing the kind of vertical stripe through the crest, I don't mind that. And I think actually, again, it's something which could be used more. But yeah, sorry. When I look at the colour scheme and I look at the impact, you know, that we mentioned kind of relatively forgettable details. I think that kind of falls into that category. It looks a little bit throwaway. I think I have to put this one in the ice cube tier again. Another MLS kit which I'm just not quite feeling. Largely, and again, even though the club colours, I hate to mention colours too much, but I do think that is holding this one back. Which is, you know, more of a club thing than anything else. Yeah, so that's my thoughts. I think it's kind of an all or nothing, isn't it, at the moment with MLS kits? We've either got some Flames tier or Ice Cube. There's not many in between. It's kind of how I feel about them, at least so far. Now, Houston Dynamo, they've had some excellent kits. Certainly their play on the kind of sunset aesthetic recently was very popular, and rightly so. They've also had a rebrand, and their crest, it's fine. I think you know, it has some nice elements, but it feels like there's almost a bit too much going on. You've got the interlocking letters, which is kind of nice, but then you've got the kind of, you know, different fonts and sizes for the text. You've got the little lightning bolt. I kind of like it being in a hexagon. I think that's kind of nice as a base shape to break away from the hundreds of round crests. As a shirt, it obviously being in the away kit, they're not using as much orange as they would on the home. But I miss that. And even though I do quite like the black and the kind of grey, that combo, which, I mean, let's face it, that was, at least broadly speaking, what we had on one of the Volcano t-shirts. Although that was a bit more of a kind of bluey grey, wasn't it? But I think actually this one, the pattern for me just feels a bit like a stock pattern. And that's probably the only well, the major criticism I would have with it. Again, apologies, just 1 second. As yeah, I should probably mute my camera some of those. But anyway, yes, I think, you know, when I look at it as an overall shirt, I do like the fact that the thin yellow, orange line on the cuffs. You've got that on the crest. There's a nice tie in there. And I do like the choice of silver or grey to go with the black, but it's just that pattern. From what I gather, I'm just looking through the press release quickly. Honestly, I think it's better without that pattern. You know, I think if you go with something like this, and then you have maybe something, I don't know, even just like a shadow stripes or something. Yeah, something which feels a bit less like a stock pattern. It looks completely random. I don't think it helps the kit, honestly. I think it takes away from the aesthetic. I think, you know, little bits of orange in there could have helped. But despite those criticisms, and I've been kind of down on the kit, but I do think this is still probably in the counter tier. I think it has, there's enough right about the shirt to avoid the drop, so to speak. I'm just saying, hey, how those 2 stars of Diamond Special could have been on the Revs kit. Yeah, unless you're buying a replica, of course, where they don't have the stars. But yes, and just that's yeah, tough luck, mate. Tough luck. That's a shame. We don't have some of our other fellow, your fellow Revs fans as well in the chat today, Andrew, so you could share commiserations together. So yeah, Dynamo. I think some people, I would expect this to be higher on some people's personal lists. It's just that pan is holding it back for me. Real Salt Lake. This one, again, if we were talking about replica versus player issue, I know this one really suffered in the replica version. But if we're judging it on the authentic, I think this one has, you know, nice elements. And this, I think, actually is better than the Dynamo kit. You know, if you stuck that pattern that we just seen on the Dynamo kit on this kit, it would really suffer. But this shows the benefits of actually of a less is more approach. Now the sponsor, though not horrible, does really stand out in the white, but we can live with that. The cuffs and collar pattern, reminiscent of a number of other kits Adidas have done. Arsenal being a great example, and even Charlotte FC also. And I think, have we rated their kits? I think we have, right? I'm just going to have a quick look at it. This is hard to see, to digest this wall, isn't it? There's so many kits on here, but I was scanning through. Maybe we haven't done their kits so far. If we have, I apologise. It might be on this list. But I'm looking at light blue kits. But that was another one which had a similar vibe. I think this one, though, even though I do think it is a step up on the Dynamo kit, I think it's still in the canon tier. I think it's missing that top tier element, be it a detail or even just something about, even though I like this, the usage of the stripes on the cuffs and collar, it's not unique. It's not particularly exciting compared to some of the other pattern work we see. But it is good. I think this one is similar to the Dynamo kit, and then it's going to be in the canon tier, but a bit better. And I really do think this is an example of less is more. Yeah, and again, the replica unfortunately doesn't have these elements, which is kind of the key feature there, which is a real shame. So we're going to stick this in the canon tier, in the higher end of the canon tier. Good stuff. As a whole from Adidas, there's more to like than dislike so far from the MLS kits, which is saying something. I think that, it's good to see. I'd like to see more. And Adidas, I do think that the one manufacturer model is, generally speaking, worse for kit designs, but that's not to say there isn't good stuff. We'll finish with Chicago Fire. There's good old Shaqiri on the front there. Another recently rebranded crest. Been a feature so far of these last batch of MLS kits. Looking at the Chicago Fire kit, and again, apologies, I don't know if it's the site speed or my internet speed, which is a bit slow. But looking here, I mean, that Chicago crest looks a bit small, doesn't it? Like you see a player pointing the bench, think, it looks a little bit too small. I think this one, if you compare it to something like the I guess a natural comparison would be the New England kit, actually. Similar colour scheme, similar kind of style with the pattern. I think I actually prefer this pattern to New England's pattern. I think it feels a bit more, it's got a bit more life to it. Your eyes are drawn, it kind of pointed upwards, it feels a bit nicer. And I think, comparing the subliminal patterns, I would say, it's a bit better than the New England kit. And indeed, the Chicago, I think that's the flag of Chicago, isn't it? Or the colours of the state, or whatever it is. Certainly those colours, which you can see on both the crest and the MLS logo. That's a nice colour scheme. But I think even though I like it more in some ways than the New England kit, I think this is still in the Ice Cube tier. I think, in terms of those colours, it's a little bit tired for me, the kind of navy. Hard to kind of really get right, and I think it does fall behind the pack, and the standard I think is just higher this year for MLS kits compared to some other seasons. So in other years when this would be, I think, close to the middle of the pack, this falls down here. John Carlos is just getting dealt with family drama. I hope things are okay, John Carl. We'll catch up on the post. Yeah, we actually we had a long section to talk about New England, and you'll be disappointed to see they're in the Ice Cube tier. But yeah, John Carl, I hope things are okay. Thanks for stopping by, mate. We are going to finish on this kit, on the Chicago kit. Thank you for somebody says I was able to get Pablo Ruiz's kit after the game at the Revs. The only bright spot of that night for me. Sorry to hear that, Andres. Sorry again as I blow my nose. But and yeah, some comments as well. So I understand it's the colours of the city of Chicago's flag. Thank you. That's the one. I knew there was some combination. It's a scheme, of course, that's been used on a few teams, of course, different sports. And John Carl said that Chicago kit was stolen from the Revolution. That should have been our colours. Yeah, so, well, yeah, I think it certainly has a similar aesthetic. And actually, I'm just trying to remember previous Chicago kits. None are jumping out to mind. If we just look now. Over the history, yeah, to be fair, obviously predominantly red. I mean, I should remember that. That's pretty clear. But it does. That's the thing. It does look like a knockoff. It does look like a knockoff New England kit, and that's the thing. Of all the colours they could have chosen, they've gone for probably one of the weakest. So, or at least it feels like a knockoff. I'd agree with that comment. Knockoff Revolution, or indeed other teams. Very little identity. Little to get excited about if you're a Chicago Fire fan. Now, John Carl said I agree with his kit. His Ice Cube hate the new badge. Yeah, I don't hate the badge, but I don't love the kit. That's for sure. So we finish another week of the Hot Wall. Quick recap of where we've got to. Some good entries, nothing in the Volcano tier, that elusive top tier, but we did have some really good entries from Volvic. And similarly, some good MLS kits, the Portland Timbers, I like the Austin and the LA Galaxy, some good efforts, which, very much in this Flames tier. And Jacko as well, I think, one of the stories of today, with 2 efforts there from the Bundesliga or from Germany. That'll do it for the Hot Wall this week, though. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a bit of a quieter week in the chat, but I've still really enjoyed your company as always. That goes without saying. But yeah, as we wrap up, and I'll just switch us to the main screen. A quick reminder: if anyone who's just tuning in, look at this kit, which I'm going to be giving away tomorrow. Wonderful kit. We talked a lot about American kits. This is from San Diego Loyal. This crest, guys, is absolutely stunning, and it's a really nice treatment. Yeah, I'll be photographing this tomorrow and sharing some pictures on Twitter and doing a giveaway for one of the shirts. So that's to come tomorrow. But that is it for the Hot Wall. Thank you again. As I say, really appreciate your company, your time. Thanks for stopping by. Even if you've just been tuning in, you've not been on the chat, but you've just been kind of listening in on the background. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, well, of course, we will go again I was going to say tomorrow, not tomorrow, next week with the eBay stream on Tuesday. And again, the Hot Wall on next week, next Thursday. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. If there's any last minute questions, fire them in. But otherwise, I will say goodbye and see you very soon, guys. Yeah. I think a few more of these slightly longer streams and we will be close to catching up. I say that, of course, new kits coming out all the time. We're getting there, though. We are getting there. But good stuff. I will leave you with the outro scene as usual. But thank you. All the best. I will see you very soon for another stream. Take care.